The average person has over 6,000 thoughts per day. And research from Harvard University found that nearly 47% of those thoughts are not about what is actually happening in the moment. Nearly half of your waking life is spent somewhere else entirely, replaying the past, rehearsing the future, or spiraling through scenarios that will never come true. That is not a minor distraction. That is almost half your life, gone. And here is the part that should stop you cold. The same Harvard study found that mind wandering makes people significantly less happy, regardless of what they are thinking about. Even pleasant daydreams were associated with lower well-being. The problem is not the content of your thoughts. The problem is the uncontrolled nature of them. In the next few minutes, you are going to discover exactly why overthinking has nothing to do with intelligence, what mindfulness actually does to the structure of your brain, and why the most common advice people give about stopping overthinking, just think positive, is not only useless but can make the problem dramatically worse. There is a specific mechanism behind overthinking that most people have never heard of. And once you understand it, everything changes. To understand overthinking, you have to go back to the beginning. Your brain was not designed for the modern world. It was shaped by hundreds of thousands of years of survival pressure. In that environment, a wandering, anticipatory mind was an advantage. If you were not constantly scanning for threats, predicting danger, and rehearsing worst-case scenarios, you did not survive long enough to pass on your genes. The people who worried more lived longer. Overthinking, at its evolutionary root, is a feature, not a flaw. But that ancient system is now running inside a world it was never built for. Instead of predicting whether a predator is behind a bush, your brain is predicting whether your boss thinks less of you, whether you said the wrong thing at dinner, whether your future is going to fall apart. The threat detection system is working exactly as designed. It is just pointed at the wrong targets. And unlike physical threats, social and psychological threats never fully resolve, which means the loop never stops. This is why overthinking feels so automatic and so exhausting. It is not a character flaw. It is not weakness. It is your nervous system doing exactly what evolution trained it to do. The question is not how to fight it, because fighting your own brain is a losing battle. The question is how to change your relationship with it. Here is something that surprises most people. Mindfulness does not ask you to stop thinking. It does not ask you to clear your mind, blank your thoughts, or achieve some peaceful emptiness. That idea is one of the most damaging myths in mental wellness. Real mindfulness is far simpler and far more powerful than that. It is the practice of noticing what is happening in your mind without automatically being swept away by it. That single shift, from being inside the thought to watching the thought, changes everything. Neuroscientists call this metacognition. Thinking about thinking. And brain imaging studies have shown that when people practice mindfulness consistently, the activity in the default mode network, the brain region most responsible for rumination and self-referential thought, begins to quiet down. A study published in the journal Psychiatry Research found that just 8 weeks of mindfulness practice produced measurable changes in the density of gray matter in the hippocampus, the area associated with learning and emotional regulation. 8 weeks. Your brain can physically change. But here is what nobody talks about. The moment you try to suppress a thought, you make it stronger. This is called the ironic process theory, identified by psychologist Daniel Wegner. In his famous white bear experiment, he asked participants to not think about a white bear. They thought about it constantly. Suppression creates a monitoring process in your brain that actively searches for the forbidden thought, which means you encounter it more, not less. This is why telling yourself to stop overthinking never works. The instruction to stop contains the very thing you are trying to avoid. Mindfulness takes the opposite approach entirely. Instead of pushing thoughts away, you allow them to exist. You observe them without judgment. You name them. There is the worry thought, there is the catastrophizing thought, and in that act of naming, you create distance. Psychologists call this cognitive diffusion. You are no longer fused with the thought. You are not the thought. You are the one watching it. Research from UCLA showed that simply labeling an emotion or a thought reduces the activation of the amygdala, the brain's fear and threat center, and increases activity in the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for rational decision-making. In plain terms, naming what you are experiencing literally calms your nervous system. A single moment of mindful awareness is a neurological intervention. It is that precise, and it is that powerful. So what does this look like in practice? There is a foundational mindfulness technique called the STOP method. S stands for stop, whatever you are doing, pause for just one moment. T stands for take a breath. One slow, deliberate breath activates your parasympathetic nervous system and begins to lower your cortisol levels within seconds. O stands for observe. What are you thinking? What are you feeling in your body? Where is the tension? P stands for proceed. Continue with greater awareness than you had before. That entire process takes less than 60 seconds. And practice consistently, it rewires your default response to stress. Another technique that research strongly supports is called the 5-4-3-2-1 grounding method. You name 5 things you can see, 4 things you can physically feel, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. This is not a distraction technique. It is a neurological pattern interrupt. Overthinking requires abstraction. Your mind has to leave the present moment to ruminate about the past or future. Sensory grounding forcibly returns your brain to the present moment, where overthinking literally cannot survive. It requires a different cognitive mode. But there is a deeper layer to this that most discussions about mindfulness completely skip over. The reason overthinking is so persistent for most people is not just habit. It is identity. Many people have unconsciously built their sense of self around being a thinker, a planner, a worrier. Overthinking feels productive even when it is paralyzing. It feels like you are doing something about the problem, even when you are just circling it. Letting go of overthinking can feel, on some level, like letting go of control. And that is terrifying for a brain that evolved to believe control equals survival. This is why mindfulness practiced at its deepest level is not just a stress management tool. It is a fundamental shift in self-understanding. When you sit with your thoughts and observe them without being consumed by them, you begin to realize that you are not your thoughts. They arise. They pass. They have no permanent authority over you. That realization, repeated daily through practice, does not just reduce anxiety. It changes how you experience being alive. Studies have shown that people who maintain a regular mindfulness practice report significantly higher levels of what psychologists call psychological flexibility, the ability to hold difficult thoughts and feelings without being controlled by them. And psychological flexibility is one of the strongest predictors of long-term mental health, resilience, and life satisfaction that researchers have identified. This is not a soft metric. It is a measurable, replicable finding that has appeared across hundreds of independent studies. The path forward is not about achieving silence. It is about building the capacity to sit with noise without being deafened by it. Your thoughts will always arise. That is what brains do. But you have more influence over your relationship to those thoughts than you have ever been taught. The moment you stop fighting your mind and start observing it, something remarkable happens. The volume drops. The urgency fades. The spiral slows. Not because you forced it, but because you stopped feeding it with resistance. Start with 1 minute today. Before you go, if you learned something valuable today, hit that like button right now. Subscribe to Sleep Wave for a brand new video every single day. We will see you in the next one.